I, 35-year-old male, and my girlfriend Sarah, 35-year-old female, have been together for 4 years. She has a son, Nathan, 9 years old, with her ex Mark, 36 years old. Sarah has full custody of Nathan, and her ex has scheduled visitations one weekend every month. Sarah and Nathan moved in with me a little over a year and a half ago, and in my perspective, it was a little rocky at first. I've always been pretty protective of my space, so making room for 2 other people was difficult for me. When Sarah moved in with me, we agreed that the visitations for Mark would be held in our apartment as long as I'm home. The main reason I wanted this is because I don't know Mark that well, and I don't want him wandering around our apartment without me there. When we proposed this idea to Mark, he was fine with it. Now moving on to the real issue. 3 weeks ago marked 4 months since Mark's last visit, so I asked Sarah when he was planning on visiting Nathan. My girlfriend replied by shrugging her shoulders and telling me she'd ask. She never followed up on it. So a few days ago I asked when Mark's next visit was, and Sarah said she'd tell me when she knew. Nathan was in the living room but had apparently overheard us and shouted something along the lines of, "Dad was here last weekend, remember?" Sarah's face immediately dropped, and when I asked what Nathan meant, she wouldn't give me a direct answer. Eventually, she ended up telling me that for the past 2 visits, Mark had been to our apartment when I was working. When I accused her of going back on our agreement, she kept telling me this was her home too, and she could invite whoever she wanted, and that it was fine because she was here and watching. I told her that was besides the point, and she violated my trust. It blew up into a huge argument, which ended with me telling her to get out of my apartment. She packed up and left with Nathan. The last I heard, she was staying with her parents. I've gotten several messages from both Sarah and her parents calling me a jerk for kicking Sarah and Nathan out of their home for something so small. She's even been blasting me on Instagram and Facebook about how horrible I am to do this to her. It's got me thinking I might be the AH, but I'm not entirely sure yet. Am I the idiot? ETA. I can see why it's important, but the court order was instructed because of Mark having a criminal record. I'm not sure what it's for, as Sarah has never directly told me, and I didn't want to push her to tell me. ETA 2. Update posted to my account. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. The rule about you supervising the dad and not thinking her supervision was good enough is kind of stupid. That was supposed to be her home too. You've been living together long enough that even if that rule seemed appropriate at the beginning, you should have relaxed it after 18 months. Living with a woman with a kid means co-parenting with the father will be a part of your life. However, she outright lied to you and put a child in the middle of that dishonesty. That is absolutely a reason to end a relationship. Lying about something she disagrees with, even though it's stupid, would lead me to wonder what else she lies about. Anyway, I think both of you were wrong. Everyone sucks here. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Not only did she broke the only rule you had for whatever reason, but she lied about it multiple times and seems never had intention to tell you until the kid revealed the truth. She had an issue with the single boundary you've set. She should have talked to you and renegotiated, but she didn't bother. And I'm sorry, but letting someone move in with you doesn't automatically make you and them 100% equal residents in a house you own, especially when it comes to conditions that were agreed on before the move. Comment 3. Everyone sucks here. She shouldn't have lied, and that's weird, but dude, you kicked them out like they were guests. You just said they've been living there for a year and a half. You kicked a child out of his home instantly on a whim for something he had nothing to do with. WTF. I hope at least you consider this a breakup and are done with them both in your life, because if you have any notion of treating this as a standard couples dispute that needs resolving after that. Now for the update. It's been a whirlwind couple of months since my last post, and I thought this community, which gave me so much perspective, deserved an update. After Sarah, Nathan and I had that huge fallout, things seemed like they couldn't get any worse. But life has a funny way of patching things up when you least expect it. I spent a lot of time reflecting on what happened, my part in it, Sarah's perspective, and most importantly, what Nathan must be going through. It dawned on me that the core of the issue wasn't about Mark's visits, but trust and communication between Sarah and me. I realized I'd let my insecurities cloud my judgment about what's best for Nathan, having a relationship with his dad. I reached out to Sarah and asked if we could talk, not to rehash old arguments, but to understand each other and reconcile if possible. We met at a local cafe and the conversation was tense at first. I listened a lot. She shared that her defense of Mark's visits was rooted in fear of Nathan losing his connection with his father, and fear of confronting me. I apologized for not being more empathetic towards her position and Nathan's needs. Over the next couple of weeks, we slowly started rebuilding our trust. We also agreed to go to couples therapy to work through our issues with a professional's help. It was tough but transformative. We learned to communicate better and set boundaries that we both felt comfortable with. As for Mark, I reached out to him too. It was probably the hardest thing I've ever done. We met up, just the two of us. I told him I wanted Nathan to have his father in his life, and that I was sorry for letting things get so out of hand. To my surprise, Mark was understanding. He admitted that he should have respected our initial agreement and reassured me that he didn't want to replace me in Nathan's life. We've since established a visitation schedule that doesn't exclude me, but also doesn't require my presence every time. Sarah, Nathan and I are back living together. It's not perfect, but it's home, and it's peaceful. Nathan has been happier too, now that he's seeing his dad regularly without the tension. Most importantly, Sarah and I are a team again. We've promised to tackle problems together, rather than let them drive a wedge between us. It took this crisis to make us realise how much we needed to grow as partners and as a family. I'm grateful for the tough lessons learned, and for the second chance to make things right. Thank you to everyone here who offered their advice and helped me see things from a different angle. It truly made a difference. Now, for the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot. It's commendable that the narrator has taken a reflective approach to the fallout with Sarah and Nathan. Recognising that trust and communication were at the heart of the issue shows a level of maturity and self-awareness that is essential in any healthy relationship. Reaching out to Sarah to reconcile, and the resulting conversation demonstrates a willingness to be vulnerable and to listen, both of which are key components of repairing a damaged relationship. Furthermore, the decision to engage in couples therapy is a proactive step toward ensuring that both parties have the tools and support needed to rebuild trust and improve their communication patterns. The narrator's decision to apologize to Nathan's father, Mark, is another positive action. Not only does it show respect for the role Mark plays in Nathan's life, but it also acknowledges that the narrator's behavior had a wider impact than just on their immediate relationship with Sarah and Nathan. Establishing a visitation schedule that respects everyone's needs and boundaries is a thoughtful resolution to what could have been a contentious issue. Living together again and committing to tackling problems as a team is a hopeful outcome. Comment 2. No idiots here. The story presented indicates that all parties involved experienced a breakdown in trust and communication, which is a common issue in many relationships. The narrator's introspection and subsequent actions to address and resolve these issues are not only responsible but necessary for healing. By reaching out to reconcile with Sarah, the narrator is taking the first step toward mending their relationship, and the tense conversation that follows is a natural part of the healing process. Sharing fears and apologies is not easy, and doing so is a sign of strength and commitment to the relationship. Opting for couples therapy is a wise decision. It provides a structured environment for both Sarah and the narrator to work through their issues with the guidance of a professional. This choice signifies a long-term investment in the health of the relationship and a recognition that sometimes outside help is required to navigate complex emotional landscapes. Comment 3. Everyone sucks here. While it's clear that the narrator has made efforts to address the issues that led to the fallout with Sarah and Nathan, it's also important to acknowledge that the breakdown in trust and communication was likely a two-way street. The fact that both parties had to share fears and apologize suggests that there were missteps on both sides. However, the narrator's initiative to reach out and begin the process of reconciliation is a step in the right direction. It's critical in any relationship to be able to own up to one's faults and work towards resolution. Couples therapy is a valuable tool in navigating the complexities of relationship dynamics. The decision to attend therapy together shows a commitment to understanding one another and developing healthier communication habits. This move indicates that the narrator and Sarah are ready to put in the work necessary to ensure their relationship's longevity. The narrator's outreach to Mark is also a commendable effort to mend fences and shows a recognition of the wider implications of their actions. By establishing a visitation schedule, the narrator is prioritizing Nathan's needs and the importance of his relationship with his father. Now, for the next story. I'm a single mum to Emmy, who is 6 years old. Emmy is my only child. She's been sick since she was 2, and if I'm going to be honest, she likely won't make it to 10. Her dad left us when she got sick. Emmy spends 1 week in the hospital and then a week at home. Because of this, the last time I was able to send her to school was 2 years ago, when we were able to do preschool for 3 hours a day, 2 days a week, and they still wore masks. Now the only time she's around other kids is when she's in the hospital. Emmy hates sharing her toys, so I try not to make her do it. Usually when we see her cousins, I'll buy something like a big pack of chalk and a gallon of bubbles, and I'll tell her it's for everybody, but that's the only time she'll share. My sister and her 2 daughters, aged 5 and 7, are living with us temporarily. It's been difficult for everyone. At first I switched rooms with Emmy, and we put all 3 girls in the master bedroom, but Emmy hated sharing rooms and said the girls were always touching her stuff, so we switched back and I put the girls in the spare room with their mum. My sister was complaining that the room was too crowded, so she's staying on a cot in my office, but apparently that's also uncomfortable, so she wants the girls to share again. My sister does not pay any rent. Her husband sends $500 a month to help pay for their groceries, and she helps with Emmy while I'm working. My job is pretty flexible, so I'm able to watch her while I work. They've also been complaining that I take Emmy on day weekend trips without them. Emmy just spent the week in the hospital, and we came home on Saturday. My niece's beds were moved into Emmy's room, and her toys were everywhere. I confronted my sister, and she said Emmy isn't using her room or her toys half the time, and that little girls should be sharing with each other. I told her that Emmy has already made it clear that she does not want to share her room or her toys, and that her room needs to be the way we left it by the end of the day. She says I'm being unfair, so I snapped at her that I will be prioritising my kid over her ungrateful self and her kids, and that if she can't get over my kid not sharing, she needs to find somewhere else to live. They did fix Emmy's room, but they haven't been talking to us. At this point, I'm thinking about kicking them out anyway. Am I the idiot for telling her she needs to get over my kid not sharing or move out? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. It sounds like your sister is in a fragile place right now. I suspect whatever is going on with the stepson is serious and probably will have some sort of legal ramifications. That said, you and your daughter are in a very fragile place as well, and you did your sister and her daughters a huge favour letting them move in with you. Honestly, if I can home and found the girls' beds in Emmy's room and her stuff strewn about, I'd have gone to the kitchen, gotten 3 trash bags and the kitchen time, and told them they had 30 minutes to get all of the stuff into the bags and get out of my house. You're a much better person than me to have given them another chance. You need to give your sister 2 choices. Sleep in their assigned rooms and leave Emmy's stuff alone, or pack their stuff and get out. Be clear there's no third choice, and there won't be another second chance if the intrusion or her badgering you happens again. Comment 2. No idiots here. I'm sure I'm going to be downvoted to oblivion on this one. Both of you are prioritising your own kids in a hard time. Your daughter is sick, very sorry you're both going through this, but it doesn't seem that your sister is in a great place either. The kids are being moved around and both of you are trying to make the best situation of what's going on. Your nieces aren't in a good place either. It must not be easy to know there is a room full of toys that they can't touch for days on end. You are trying to make it as easy as possible for Emmy. This is temporary, and I think you and your sis need to talk about what's the best course of action for the short remainder. Comment 3. I confronted my sister, and she said Emmy isn't using her room or her toys half the time. The fact that you didn't throw everything out on the front lawn the moment she said this speaks volumes of your character. You are a better person than I am, not the idiot. Normally I would say kids need to share and letting them have their way is setting them up for failure, but this isn't a typical situation. Emmy has possibly 4 hours left to live her life that hasn't begun. Typical rules child raising just doesn't apply. If your sister is unhappy with the accommodations, then she needs to find new accommodations. I'm so sorry for your daughter. Now for the update. I am at my wit's end. It's been a month since my last post, and things in my household have spiraled into chaos. Emmy has been having a tougher time than usual. We found out her condition has worsened, and we've been in and out of the hospital more frequently. The stress of it all has made the dynamic at home even more strained. In an especially low moment, my sister accused me of neglecting her and her daughters because I've been so preoccupied with Emmy's health. She said some unforgivable things about Emmy being a burden, and it tore me apart. I snapped and told her she needed to leave. It felt impossible to come back from that. Since then, they've been staying with a friend, and the silence in the house is deafening. Emmy keeps asking for her cousins, but whenever she does, it's like a knife to the heart. I know this situation isn't good for her either emotionally, but the real bombshell dropped last week. I found out my sister has been taking money from my emergency fund, the one I've been building for Emmy's medical expenses. I still don't know how much she took. She had access because at one point I trusted her to run errands and buy groceries when I couldn't. The betrayal is indescribable. I feel like I can't trust anyone. The fallout from our fight didn't stop there. She spread some vile rumours about me to our family, painting herself as the victim. Now I've got relatives blowing up my phone, demanding I apologise and take her back. They don't understand the whole story, nor do they see the day-to-day struggles I go through with Emmy. To top it all off, Emmy's favourite toy, the one I bought specifically for her to have something special just to herself, has gone missing. I suspect it was one of her cousins in a misguided attempt to share. Despite everything, Emmy has been inconsolable, crying herself to sleep for nights on end. It's one more thing I have to deal with, one more heartache, and I just don't know how much more I can take. The sense of betrayal, frustration and loneliness I feel is overwhelming. I'm trying to hold it together for Emmy's sake, but it's getting harder every day. I need to find a way forward for both of us. But right now, it feels like we're trapped in a never-ending nightmare. Now for the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot. You are in an incredibly difficult position, and your primary focus absolutely has to be on the health and well-being of your child. Your sister's actions are not only unsupportive, but also incredibly harmful, both emotionally and financially. Taking money from an emergency fund meant for medical expenses is a severe breach of trust and could be considered theft, depending on the circumstances. It's understandable that you told her to leave under these circumstances. Moreover, spreading rumours and causing discord within the family during such a crisis is an additional layer of betrayal that you should not have to deal with. Your responsibility is to your child, and your sister needs to understand that her actions are making a tough situation even worse. It's important that you protect your mental health and financial resources during this time, and that may mean maintaining distance from those who are causing harm, even if they are family. Comment 2. Not the idiot. The stress of dealing with a sick child is immense, and the support of family should be a given, not a source of additional stress. Your sister's accusation of neglecting her and her children is not fair, given the circumstances. Everyone's capacity for support has limits, and when a child's life is at stake, it's natural and necessary for that to take precedence. Expecting you to maintain the same level of involvement in her life as before your child's illness is unreasonable. Furthermore, her spreading rumours is an attempt to manipulate the family's perception of the situation and garner sympathy for herself, potentially isolating you when you need support the most. It's important for your family to have a clear understanding of the situation, and your sister's actions are preventing that. Standing up for yourself and your child in this situation is not just appropriate, it's essential. It's also critical for you to secure your financial resources and ensure that no further theft occurs, which may involve legal action to protect your emergency fund. Comment 3. Not the idiot. Your child's health crisis is a moment where compassion and understanding from family should be unconditional. Your sister's behaviour is not only unsupportive, but detrimental to the situation. The loss of your child's favourite toy might seem small in comparison to the financial and emotional betrayal, but it's a significant issue as it directly affects your child's comfort and emotional state. In times of illness, especially for children, familiar items can be a huge source of solace and stability. The fact that this has also been compromised suggests a lack of empathy and consideration for what your child is going through. At this point, your priority is and should be the physical and emotional well-being of your child, and any actions that detract from that goal are not justifiable. It's important to establish boundaries with your sister and any family members who are not contributing positively to your situation. While family conflict is challenging, it's sometimes necessary to step back from toxic relationships to focus on the immediate needs of your child and yourself. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.